Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Mind Split Cafe. Matt, today we got a familiar face.
Oh my gosh, she has been gone too long. She
Yeah,
is
I know
forever in
it's
our
been a
hearts,
while.
but she has been gone too long. We missed you, Murph. Like you are such
Oh,
a positive aura and light in our lives. And I know we were talking about it off camera earlier, but for those who are new to the show, um, Dr. Jess was the first um she was our first guest, and she gave us a shot when we were trying to, you know, just beg for people to come on, and they wouldn't. They were like, who are these guys and how serious are they or whatever. And Jess was the first one to give us a shot, and she kind of helped launch the show. And because of her, we're here now. And so I just want to give you your flowers on, you know, we're on air, so to speak.
Yes,
So
thank
thank
you.
you so much for being who you are.
well, I didn't make it easy. I asked a bunch of questions. I think I vetted Chris pretty
You
hard
did.
before I came on the show,
Yeah,
but y'all
you
are
did your due
good dudes.
diligence.
Y'all are good dudes doing good stuff, and so I'm
Well, we
here for it.
appreciate it. We
I
appreciate it.
appreciate
So
that.
tell us why you're here this week. What's the topic this week?
So, I know that this topic is talked about often and a lot, and it always comes with a lot of um, controversy. And this is one of those topics that a lot of people don't really feel comfortable talking about often. But I just want to normalize talking about suicide. Let's say the word, it doesn't need to be this like, oh, don't say it. A lot of people think that just by talking about suicide and talking about uh, you know, just some of the more intrusive thoughts that come along with it, that is actually going to make people, think about it more and want to do it more, and that's really not the case. In fact, trying to pretend it doesn't exist and trying not to talk about it, shying away from it, not being direct is the worst thing that you could ever do for someone who's struggling.
Mm-hmm.
You want to invite them to talk about it more so it's not this big, scary, mysterious monster, and they can explore some of those intrusive thoughts better.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree. It's our society has labeled it taboo, I guess is for lack of better words. I think we have labeled it as a taboo word, a taboo event, and there's a lot of stigma that is surrounding that. And I know you're here to help break it down. So let's get started. Let's get into this. This is gonna be an interesting one.
Awesome.
Where does it
So,
where, let me ask you this. Where does that, you know, where does your passion come from to try and change that stigma? I mean, have you personally been affected by someone in your life, or family member? Where is this fuel coming from to try and change that stigma? I'm curious.
well, all right then, Matt.
Just dive
Yeah,
into the deep end.
I guess. So I personally struggled with suicidal ideations when I
Mm-hmm.
was a teenager, when I was like 12 and 13. And I never had a safe space to talk about how I was feeling. And I actually made a few attempts, Thank goodness I'm still here. Eventually got the help that I needed, and
Mm-hmm.
that really launched me into my career today.
Mm-hmm.
But on top of that, I also, I lost a few friends due to them choosing to take their own lives.
Yeah.
And so just, I've been around it a lot, just professionally and personally, even at a really young age.
Mm.
um can we stop saying committed suicide?
I was just about to bring that up. Yes. Yes, I like that. I'm so glad you brought that up. They didn't commit a robbery or a crime. I agree with that. Yep.
Yeah. So where that comes from, committed suicide, comes from, well, It's great. I'm just gonna, this
Yeah,
comes from like really hyper religious beliefs that this
of
is a
course.
sin,
Yeah.
that people will be punished in the afterlife, that this is basically against the law. And in fact, it was against the law, for I don't know the dates, I don't know the details,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
it's always been seen as if you do this, then you're not only sinning, you're breaking the law. Let's not talk about it. Don't even speak it. People would even be considered possessed by demonic forces.
Mm.
Jeez, yeah.
I'm just curious, how would they prosecute somebody if it was against the law and they committed suicide? Like, how do you? I don't know. That's just a dumb question, but I just,
So it's funny you bring that up, because I actually read something that it used to be against the law, and I think it still is against the law in some countries, and they punish you by like life in prison or something like that in some countries. It's weird. I was trying to look it up. It's
who gets
interesting.
life in prison? The family members left behind, or the person that just committed suicide?
So it's the person that tried to attempt it and didn't follow through. That's when you would
Mhm.
be in
Oh,
prison.
that's
Yeah.
when. Okay, I was like, if you follow through with it, then
Yeah,
what?
there's nothing they can do.
There's nothing they
I
can do, right?
It's basically if they catch you talking about it, if
Ah,
there's any mention of it, just don't talk about
it's a
it,
hush
don't
word. It's
say it.
taboo. Yeah.
Just, and so that's where a lot of that fear comes from. But when I get clients, in my practice, I say the word out loud. I'm like, "Oh yeah, and how did you do it? And where, how old were you?" And
Yeah.
yeah, let's talk about it. In, they'll I had a client recently tell me, I need to know that this is a safe space because I believe that this is an option. And I was like, heck yeah, it is an option. It
Yeah.
it is an option. It is always, always an option.
Oh,
But it is our job as mental health professionals, mothers, fathers, friends,
Sisters,
anyone to
brothers. Yeah.
sisters, brothers, to give people all of the help and all of the support that they need to be able to talk about it. And if it is due to just reactions from crisis and reactions from unstable environments, that you know we help to get them in the most stable set of mind, the most stable environment, so that it's not just a reaction due to being overwhelmed and feeling like there is no other option.
Yeah.
Did you choose this because you felt like you were trapped by pain and suffering, or did you feel like you had every option and every support out there, and this is still a choice for you?
Mm-hmm.
so I have maybe a naive question, and maybe we could save this one to the end, but I'm interested to hear this one. So, other than talking about it and normalizing it, what can our society do to bring this out of the taboo realm? Other than just like continuously talking about it and bringing it up and
You stole my
normalizing it,
question,
what
Chris.
can we do as a society?
You absolutely stole my question. So I'm done for the
And
rest of the
Matt,
episode.
you and I, Matt, it's like we're in the same room, man.
I'm done for the rest of the episode. That was it. That was my question.
I think that I don't know. I guess my first response was, well, let's just start there.
Yeah.
Like, because you still see commercials, from like LMHAs and mental health
Right.
organizations, and they still use the term committed suicide with all the facts and all the data.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, we just we
What would
need.
you like it to be? Like, obviously,
Death by suicide.
it's committed suicide is kind of taboo for you, right? You don't like it, and it's against, not the ideology, but it's against the narrative that you're trying to change, right? What
Yeah.
would, if you had your way, what would be the ideal terminology that you want to change it to?
I mean, I took their lives. Death by suicide, like Chris said, I think there's a lot of different ways. A person chose to end their suffering by death by suicide or by taking their lives, and then follow that up with because of all the deficiencies, mental health treatment was not available, abusive, toxic environment, poverty, even,
Yes.
Yeah.
That would be a big one.
Yeah, poverty poverty, it seems like it drives people to that point a lot of the times, where they're just so in debt, or they don't see the light. And so they're just
hmm
like, this is it, you know?
pressure.
Yeah.
Yeah, what is it? I've heard it put this way. It's a permanent solution to a temporary problem.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
and it's a
realized that
shame.
I tried. I made an attempt. This was over 10, 12, yeah, like 14 years ago, maybe.
Oh wow.
And I felt that I was coming out of I was going through
Divorce.
relationship issues or whatever, and I was going through a divorce, and it just felt like the world. But like what you said, Chris, it's a permanent solution to a temporary problem. And I realize that now, because look at all the life that I've lived since 2010. I've seen my son grow. I've seen him accomplish so many things. I've helped him, become an outstanding. I keep saying young man because he's always the kid in my eyes, right? But he's become a man. He's 23, so I've seen him grow. I so many things I've accomplished since then, and it would have been a permanent solution to a temporary problem.
Yeah.
And so it's
Yeah.
definitely not the way out. There's always there's always a solution. I tell that to Chris all the time. There's always a
Yeah.
solution to a problem. You just got to find it.
He actually told me that the other day.
Yeah, there's always a solution. And I don't know. I'd like to say I'm like a Nostradamus and say that that's where I learned it from, but it's not. You just figure it out. Like there's always a solution. So
Well, I think part of that is encouraging people not to isolate,
yeah,
do something. People are like, well, I can't afford therapy, I can't afford medicine. Bet I hear you. Do something, do
yeah.
anything, get a playlist going that helps drag you out of moods. Get
Find a
get out
podcast.
there in nature, find a podcast,
Yeah.
reach out to a therapist who, if you just call her phone number, she'll spend half an hour on the phone with you trying to connect you to community resources, which
Raise
I
your hand,
did
Murph.
this
Raise your
morning.
hand. Raise your hand.
Well, so that was a question that I was going to bring up is what in the event someone doesn't have insurance, doesn't have the means to get therapy, what free resources are out there for someone in this type of predicament?
There's always something. I at least once a week for the past, you know, 4 years of my life since I've been working through telehealth, at least once a week, I spend free time on the phone helping people get connected to resources. I never, when I do intake or discovery calls with people, and the question comes up of like, all right, how are you going to pay for services? And they go like, oh, something like, oh, I don't really have the money, or oh, you don't work with insurance. And they get kind of like, down. And
Deflated.
I'm like, no worries. I got you. Give me 5 minutes and I'm here, and you can just hear my keyboard clack, 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 clack. 'Cause I'm on Facebook, I'm on, everywhere. And I'm like, hey, I just found a church in your area. It is, religious based, but hey, I know you don't believe in that sort of thing, but just go talk. It's free.
Yeah.
They will help you. And some people don't like that, so I go like, okay, bet you're afraid of churches and religion. Hey, there is this group,
Yeah.
and they offer free meetings 3 times a week. It's not facilitated by a professional, but you can go talk about it. You
Yeah.
can have
You can just
community.
talk.
Yeah.
Do
Still have someone
something.
support you.
So to be clear, you don't get paid in chickens and hot meals, right? Like you're actually free eggs. Like
No, I wish I could barter for snacks.
Don't say that. You might start getting a bunch of calls after this episode
you're
airs.
like, we got. They're gonna call Murph and be like, "We got M&Ms. Do you want M&Ms?"
I got some
I mean, at least
conchas, some
pizza.
sweet bread.
At least pizza. Come on.
Yeah. So I know we're running short on time, but in this episode, always when you're here, the episode always flies by, right? But like, and you're more than welcome back. I think you're one of the longest running guests that has been on the show, right?
It's between her and Dr. Weiner, that's for sure.
Yeah, but kind of plug your plug your business. Plug how can people find you? How can people bring you chickens? Like what how did they find you, Dr. Murph?
I'm not a doctor yet.
I'm sorry. Yes,
That's okay.
I still call you Dr. Murph, but yeah, go ahead.
I get that often. That's all right. So the name of my practice is Beyond Boundaries Counseling RGV, like Rio Grande Valley, and my website is bbcrgv.com. I also have listings on psychologytoday.com and different directories so people can look me up online and find me easily. My phone number is listed, my information is listed. If anyone just even needs help getting connected with some sort of resources, don't hesitate, reach out.
I love that.
Students who have questions or want to do interviews about like mental health education, send me an email, text me. I'm always here to advocate for the field.
You
know what, Matt?
Positive
You know what I think we should do with this, Matt? Is let's just do a to be continued right now. We're gonna do a part 2 in a week.
I think we should too.
Yeah, finish up this and expand on it a little bit more because I really do think it's important. I really think that Murph has a lot to offer to our listeners.
I do too.
So let's do a part 2 already.
Coming back next week, guys. She's coming back next week.
I'm available. Let's do it. Same day, same time.
She's coming back next week. So Jess, you are, like I said, you're an amazing person, and I wish you all the chickens and the eggs, and I'm just kidding, but you're an amazing person. You're such a great therapist.
Thank you guys.
So you've helped me in more ways than I can ever relate to you, just our talks by you being on the show and our talks privately. So just thank you for being who you are, Jess.
You're welcome.
Absolutely. I co-sign that. And like we said at the beginning of the show, we really appreciate you taking the chance on us and sticking with us. So really appreciate that. And we can't wait to work with you again.
Awesome. Looking forward to it.
All right, guys.
All right, guys. See you next week.
Next week. She's coming back. She's on the show next week. She'll be here. We'll see you soon, guys. Take care.
Thank you, everyone.